All right, good afternoon, traders. Today is March 10th, 2026. My name is Coach Carignan, the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody. Podcast land, digital land, cyber land. Thank you for listening to my content, following my content, subscribing to my content. Special shout out, Rick Sadler, Bob Jordan, John Jordan, Kathy, Sarah Roasted, everybody that shares the content. All right, we'll take a look at how I made 2,800 today. All right, we'll take a look at the markets. 10-minute chart. 10-minute downtrend coming into the close. You got the sticks and the 3 are riding underneath the 8. Okay, on the 2-hour chart, we got the sticks and the 3 are riding over the 8. Let's go to this one right here. Okay, sticks in the 3 riding over the 8. So 2-hour uptrend coming into the close. Daily candle is a sword. The sword is pointed up, meaning price goes up and rolls over. All right, unless of course they take out the tip of the sword. Okay, so that's sword on that. So that's daily candle. We've got higher low, higher high. We closed under the bearish trap again. Or we closed inside it yesterday, under the bearish trap, under the falling 17, under the all-time high anchored VWAP, under downtrend line 1, downtrend line 2, and we are still in a downtrend. Why? Because we got lows and we're making lower lows. Until we start making higher highs, we're still in a downtrend. If we look at this with the quad lines on there, okay, so here we are. This is the April low. It's the origin of our rally. I'm going to take you up to this one. This is the origin of our rally. We need to hold. See where all these valleys come into this number right here? Okay, so we need to hold this tomorrow. Okay, if after CPI we're under this, all right, it's a good chance we're coming all the way back down to revisit the lows from earlier, all right? So that we were supposed to. Today, the mission was, on the 10-minute chart, was to make a higher high. Now, we did get the higher high, but we did not hold the higher ground up there. Look how we went up there, made the higher high, and had a pullback. So it will be interesting whether they're going to call that a higher high. They could have held it, but that's all they had to do was to get up there and hold that high right there, and they couldn't get it done. All right, so there's a SPY on the 10-minute chart. Took them a long time to get that higher high, by the way. I mean, they really struggled to get it done. And right after getting it, I mean, that's a tell. They lost it immediately. Right after getting the higher high, they lost it. So here we are with price in a 10-minute downtrend. So we got to hold, see this shelf right here, and see this valley. Okay, we got to hold this area. Failing to hold this, it's a good chance we're coming down to this valley low, and then probably this valley low, and maybe even lower. All right, just saying. We got a downtrend line right through here. Okay. Notice how we failed to hold that high up there. We couldn't shoot through and hold the higher ground. That was pretty much the mission that needed to be accomplished today, and it didn't happen. So there's SPY on the 10-minute chart. I'm going to take this off. Okay, remember this is the valley. This is the line right here, about 675.50. All right, right there, 675.50. All right, below that, good chance we're coming down to visit this peak right there between the two valleys, this valley low, and then that valley low. So there's SPY. Okay, on the weekly chart, all right, on the weekly chart right here, we're up and over to the right. We're still bullish. We're still in an uptrend on the bigger time frame. Again, April low right here, up and over to the right. We're still bullish and in an uptrend on the monthly chart. Let's take a look at QQQ. Start off on the 10-minute downtrend, just like SPY. 2 hour. 2 hours, see the sticks in the 3 riding up on over the 8. 2 hour uptrend coming into the close. Daily candle. Another sword. Higher low, higher high, closing over a bearish trap, but under the 17. Look at that with the quad. We're over the uptrend line right here. Could be a rollover. We'll see. Got 2 swords. 1 sword on each side of this big igniting candle. Okay, so QQQ, daily candle. Note, we still haven't made any higher highs. Well, we made, let's see what we got there. The high there is 613.29. The high there is 612.76. And the high there is 612.88. So that's a higher high. So they're now in an uptrend, just barely by pennies, okay, because they made a peak, then a valley, and then a new peak right there. It's not a very big peak. It's only a few candles, so the strength of this uptrend may not last. All right, so we've got an uptrend on QQQ. Let me revisit SPY to make sure that they don't have an uptrend as well. You can see price, we're excuse me, we're still under the all-time high anchored VWAP. We're in the middle of quadrant 4. We're still bullish, and we're in an uptrend just barely, all right, because we inked out a higher high right here on QQQ. Okay, you can see we're in the upper third, so that's bullish. Here's the origin of our rally right there, back there in April, up and over to the right. So we'll see what happens. We got CPI tomorrow. And then on Friday, we've got GDP. Said delayed, now it's just the regular one. So let's go visit SPY one more time because QQQ is in an uptrend. And no, SPY didn't produce a wick higher than one of these wicks that pokes over the 17. So SPY still in a downtrend. QQQ in a very weak 1 candle uptrend. So there's QQQ on the weekly chart, still bullish. Here's the origin, April, and in an uptrend right here. Give me just a second. All right, I'm in the middle. All right, so I'm back. Monthly chart, you can see the origin, April, up, over to the right, still bullish and in an uptrend. Let's take a look at IWM on the daily candles. So you can see IWM, we got some lows, and you can see we made a lower low yesterday. Another sword, okay? Not a good sign. A lot of swords showing up. One before, one after. IWM, daily candle. Okay, higher low, higher high, closing under a bearish trap, under falling 17, under the all-time high anchored VWAP. Down near the bottom of quadrant 4. So we're still bullish because we're in the upper third, but we're in a downtrend right now. Okay, on Diamond Dow. Diamond Dow, we got a higher low, higher high, another sword. Okay. Closing under a bearish trap, under a falling 17, under the all-time high anchored VWAP. Bottom of quadrant 4, still bullish in the upper third. Okay, the origin of our rally way back here, April. Still bullish, but we're in a downtrend because you can see there's a high, there's a lower high. There's a low, well, there's a lower low. So still in a downtrend right there. Let's take a look at Stinker. All right, Stinker got a higher low and a higher high. We closed over a bullish trap. We closed over the 17. Closed under the midpoint. So we're on the bearish side of the 50-yard line. Okay, we're closing under all-time low anchored VWAP. That's the purple line. Closing under the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's the pink line. Okay, so we're still neutral because we're not in the lower third and we're not in the upper third. So we're just neutral. And even though we made a higher high than that peak right there, it doesn't shoot through the 17. And we're still in a downtrend. So we're in a pullback. Excuse me. We're in a dysfunctional downtrend right now in that price is not moving down. It's actually moving up. Okay, so there's FNGU in the neutral and in a dysfunctional downtrend. So that's FNGU. Let's take a look at silver, gold. Okay, silver, little pop today. Higher low, higher high. Closing over a bullish cross. Over the flat 17. Over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Almost made it to the upper third. I'm not going to give it to them. They got to earn it. Almost in the upper third. So still neutral, but darn close. I'm going to say that. Darn close. I'm still bullish on silver. So still neutral and in a downtrend. But not moving down, is moving to the right and melting up. So there's silver, neutral, still in a downtrend that's not working because we're moving to the right or moving up. Ever since we made the lower low, see the price candles, they actually move to the right or melt up instead of moving lower, okay? So ever since they got that downtrend and made the lower low. So another dysfunctional downtrend on silver, again neutral, and in a dysfunctional downtrend. Almost bullish. Almost. Very close. We could give it to them, but I'm not. I want them to earn it. All right, so there's gold. Gold, obviously, in the upper third. There's the crosshairs. This is quadrant 4, so middle of quadrant 4 is bullish. And you can see there's a high here. There's a low. There's a higher high. So still in an uptrend, but not moving up. But moving to the right. So this is bullish. Again, the origin of our rally way back here in 2022. Okay, moves up and over to the right. So we're bullish because we're in the upper third and we're in an uptrend. All right, just not moving up ever since making that higher high. Actually just moving to the right, okay, on gold. So bullish and then an uptrend on gold. Okay, let's take a look at USO. The USO made a new 7-year high yesterday. What a candle. Nice big candle today. Wow. Okay, so USO, lower high, lower low, closing over a bullish trap yet again, over a rising 17, over the 4-year high anchored VWAP. See, this is April 22. Well, this is 2020 right here. That's our COVID dip. So this became the COVID rally. So this is our post-COVID rally anchored VWAP. Okay? And you can see price action got us all the way up there to a 7-year high right up there. All right, so we're still bullish and in an uptrend. Not sure why the quad lines aren't on there. See, let's try it again. All right, let's put them on there. Okay, right there. So we're still in the upper third. So we're still bullish and in an uptrend. That's USO. Let's take a look at UNG. Okay, UNG, I'm going to back way out. Okay, UNG down here in quadrant 1. That right there happens to be the all-time low right there. If you want to see the all-time high, it's really ugly. Okay, so you can see the all-time high way up here, 8,000. Okay, so here's UNG. We'll go back to the daily candle. Okay, so this is just a 12-month high right there. So 12-month high anchored VWAP, we're still underneath it. We're still in quadrant 1, so that's bearish because we're in the lower third. Okay. We're in a downtrend. Well, no, we're in an uptrend because they made a lower high, okay, then a higher low, and then produced a higher high. So we're in an uptrend on UNG now because we just made a higher high. There's a high, valley low, under the 17, back up over the 17, higher high. So uptrend and neutral, and bearish. We're still in the lower third on UNG daily chart. Still underneath this all-time high anchored VWAP. Still underneath the crosshairs, that would be the lower third. So still under that. Let's take a look at the dollar, because the dollar may move tomorrow if CPI moves. So we'll take a peek at the dollar to see what it's still doing. So dollar put in this exhaustion-like move right here. And you can see a little spinning top right there. And we're in the lower side of the spinning top. Everything seems to close on the lower side of it. So I don't know if this is done with this daily uptrend or not. They're trying to hold it together there in a bull flag. It's a very sloppy pattern, not really playable or tradable for me. But you can see right here, this is the 2025 high. From there we produce lower lows and lower highs, which bring us into a downtrend that converts into a bear flag. And in the bear flag, we had a couple tests to break out of the bear flag. And you can see we failed there. And we failed here. And we failed there. Then we produced a lower low and then a lower high. A lower high, then a lower low. So here's price making a low. We made a higher low. There's a high. There's the peak between two valleys. There's a high right there. And we made a higher high. So we're in an uptrend in the bear flag right there. Got to break out of this bear flag. Got a falling 200. Kind of, giving some bad psycho to it, I guess. Little fear with that falling 200. There's the U.S. dollar index. Take a look at some technicals. T2101. All right, so we went up today, and you can see participation increased. But all in all, we pulled back under on the SPY. Remember, we opened up, we ran up, but we wound up closing under where we opened. So kind of a good sign that participation is increasing as we went up. I'll just call it the way I see it, the way I want it to be. But you can see the markets were getting very thin. As they get into this area down here, it becomes a reversal area. And you can see it had a little rally. We'll see what happens tomorrow. So that's T2101, T2122. Okay, so we're fought our way out of the oversold zone and the sell zone. I think we left off, we were in the sell zone yesterday. So we went up here, made a higher low and a higher high. And up here, it made a higher low and a higher high. So we were in the buyer's chop zone, camping out. And I don't know if it started to rain, but anyways, something happened, and then we lost it, okay? So we had to pick up camp and move it back down here to the seller's chop zone. So still on the bearish side, even though we did get up there, maybe we can produce a higher low and find our way back up into the buyer's chop zone tomorrow. We'll see. I don't know. Kind of showing a head and shoulders. Little left shoulder right here and here. Little right shoulder right here and here. So, and all of this would make up the head. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. That's T21, 22, 15-minute chart. T21, 23. All right, we're under the flat 200. It's actually rolling over. So not my favorite place to be unless I'm a bear, and I'm not a bear. Well, I am now. Now that I've seen price roll over, I'm kind of committed to being a bear. But price moved up. What a hold. Look at this T2123. What a bullish hold. That's something to make a note of. We could see bulls show up again tomorrow. That's a really bullish hold right there. We'll see what happens. They've done it before and lost it, so we'll see what happens. But we've got all of this consolidation is still underneath. We have to look at the facts, okay? All of this consolidation right up here. Okay, so all of this, okay, is under all of that. All right, so that's still bearish right there. Okay, so even though they're showing us a beautiful bull flag, okay, it's still bearish because it's underneath all of this consolidation that's probably over a month. Over, yeah, you can see the 9th or the 10th, clear up to the 10th, over a whole month long. So there's T2123. So not a good sign on IWM. Seeing that happen right there. I'm going to move this stuff off to the side. And if you remember on the 3-bar chart, I've been showing the Fibonacci retracement area as this being a reversal area quite a few days now. And I'll go over it again. I'm getting in all when I get there. Currently, you got a high up here, you got a higher low, and you got a higher high. So I'm going to call this uptrend. So they left off with a 15-minute, because we're on the 15-minute chart, a 15-minute uptrend. But just take a picture of that, okay? So you can see we're still underneath all of this consolidation, which makes for a bearish environment or a bearish bias. So be careful tomorrow. Could flip either way. I think it leans more towards the bearish, only because we're underneath the rolling 200. It's rolling over. And bulls did recover quite a bit, but they didn't get on the other side. So let's put the quad lines on here, and let's just see what it looks like with quad lines. Okay? Okay, so that's the all-time high. This is the pullback low. And you can see right here, we are still just barely on the bear side of the 50-yard line. Okay, so not quite enough, you know, not quite enough. Close, but no cigar. We could not close over the 50-yard line right there. So that's our all-time high. That's our pullback low. We needed to be up here, at least on the bullish side, or in the upper third. We're in neither one, so we're just neutral, and we're on the bearish side of that 50-yard line. So I wanted to show you that on the 15. Now we're going to move this. I'm going to take this out of the way. Take that out of the way. And we'll take this off, because we're going to go to the 3-bar chart. So here's our 3-bar chart. You can see we got a low here. And we made a lower low. See that low that pokes below the 17? We made a lower low. So we're in a downtrend on the 3-bar chart. And you can see we made a lower low. So we're up over the rising 200, which is bullish. We're up over the crosshairs. We're in the upper third. That's still bullish there on the bigger time frame. On the 15, we're bullish as well. It's just that based on the consolidation, they couldn't close it on the bullish side of the midpoint. Okay, so T2123, we're still bullish, but we're in a downtrend because we made a lower low. Low, lower low, even lower low right there. Okay, so I'm going to back way out. And now we're going to play with the Fibonacci retracements. Okay, so I'm going to take this, and I'm going to kind of turn it off. Okay, and then I'm going to take this, and I'm going to crank it up. Okay, so you can see there's our all-time high right here, and we are right next to the 1272 right up here, really close to it. All right, now I'm going to move it from this low to the pullback low right there, and you can see the 1618 lines up right on top of that reversal area. And hence, you can see that's why we're getting this pullback. And I've been pointing this out day after day, so anybody that's new that walks in can see the Fibonacci retracement, how it lines up right there with the peak on the T2123. And you can see us getting hammered these last 2 or 3 days right there. So that's T2123. All right, now I'm going to turn this off. All right, and I'll turn on the turn this back up. Okay, no, not quite that loud. Right there is fine. All right, so still bullish, but in a downtrend. T2123. Stinker on the 15. Stinker's got a low, a high, and a lower low, and no higher high. So still downtrend on Stinker on the 15, but over the 200 SMA. So that's bullish to be up over that 200 SMA. Currently in a downtrend. Stinker holding the highs up here. All right, but where was Stinker when we needed it? When the other sectors were making new all-time highs. That's why I call it Stinker, because had they participated along with the rest of the market, we could have had some really nice new all-time highs, maybe even 750. But they just couldn't get it together. And all they did was melt off. So I'm going to put the quad lines on here. And you can see where we are. And this is as much as I can capture on the 15-minute chart. You can see we're still in the lower third. So that's bearish. Okay, but I'm going to move it off. I'm going to show you the brighter picture. The brighter picture is this is the pullback low. And this is where we are currently in the upper quadrant 4. So kind of bullish from the shorter perspective. But if you encapsulate all of what we got going on here, still bearish. Well, this is that would be neutral right there. Okay, little bit more. Okay, if I encapsulate all of that, we're still bearish right there. All right, so we're over the 200. That's a bullish sign. Still underneath this all-time high for VWAP. Still underneath midpoint. All right, and currently in a downtrend because we made a lower low right there on FNGU. But over the rising 200, I mean, I'm a bull, so this is a great place to be. But we sure could have used them a couple weeks ago, a couple months ago. We could have got some really nice new all-time highs around 750 on SPY. So there's FNGU. All right, let's take a look at a few of the trades I made today. It was not an easy day. Price came out of the gate, started to fall, and then ripped up here, and it produced a bull flag, and then rallied up. And remember, the mission was to make that higher high. Equal high doesn't count. Notice they got up there in the pre-market, all right? And then they got up there in the regular market, but they still hadn't made a significant higher high. And they finally inked it out right there at the end of the day. Well, in the middle of the day. But right after inking it out, they just gave it up. I mean, they just melted like, water on the Wicked Witch of the West. Okay, so there's SPY on the 15. What I traded was a lot of calls, a lot of puts. I actually had to take a lot of my positions and convert them into spreads in order to capture gains, and we'll see how they panned out here. And I'll turn the trading on. All right, first one is a 670 put. All right, 0 DTE. All right, so you can see I bought a put, and when price came down, I sold into the option strength, and I reloaded, and you notice I got burned because price didn't come down. It actually went up. So I had to get out with a small loss, still inking out a little bit of profits right there. Let's take the next one, 675 puts. All right, so it looks like I'm selling puts right here. And these aren't puts that I already had. These are puts that I chose to place into a spread. All right, so I sold these puts, captured some of the profit in those, selling the puts. And then you can see I sold some more. Well, then I reversed. I actually did a reversal and bought puts, or actually sold puts way up here, or actually bought and sold them way up here as price came down right through there. You see that big dip? I reversed at the top, okay, because I had them short. Then I went long right here, and then I captured the profits right there. So that was a nice gain. So I captured $609 right there, closing out the puts right there. I got some IWM calls, 221 on those. Again, I'm pretty sure that was a hedge. All right, so I bought, I sold higher, I sold, and I covered down here. Okay, so that was had to turn that into a spread to cover my upside down position there. Remember, I got puts, so I'm wanting IWM to come down. Well, look what it does. It goes up. So I sold some. Let's show how I got wound up with calls. Those were supposed to be puts, but anyways, calls. I guess I bought calls to cover the puts, and I sold into strength right there. All right, we got SPY. Made 1,100 on those, 685 calls. Bought low, sold into strength. See, I can bought low, selling into that price rallying up. Again, doing the same thing again, and the same thing again. Okay, 680, made 423 on those calls. Pretty sure those were sold short. As you can see, the first action was a sell, and you can see the last actions are blue, meaning I'm covering my short position and capturing gains that way. Lost 431 on these puts. They were way underwater. So I bought down here. So I bought 10 contracts and 5 contracts down here. Okay, now, even though it comes in as a loss, look at where I sold them. I bought them for 23 cents a contract, and these 18 cents a contract, but I'm selling them for 44 cents, 48 cents, 50 cents, 55 cents. So I'm not bothered by the loss because I know I made money by buying these low and selling them for way more than what I purchased them for. It's just that they're under my cost basis, so it prints as a negative. So for me, that was a win. All right? That was a nice win right there. So 334 right there, even though it shows up as a loss. 334 on these 680 calls. And it looks like I bought and sold, bought and sold, and sold and then bought. All right, so bought the cover. So you can see I was short right here. So I bought the cover, and then I sold some more. Then I bought the cover, then I sold some more, and then price rallied up against me. Okay, so as we got closer, I sold some more short and covered down here. This was one of my short positions. $20 on the 699 calls. Basically just buying low, selling high, buying low, selling high. Nothing really there. 697 got 350. Okay, so I sold these short and I started to cover. Sold these short, started to cover. Sold them short and started to cover. So you can see I captured that by producing a spread from a position that was upside down right there. So those are my gains for the day. Okay, not an easy day. I don't like making spreads because spreads make two positions out of one. I'd much rather manage one position than have to worry about two positions. So it's much easier. But today was a rip up, an unexpected rip up. I actually expected a rollover, and they did roll over after making the higher high up here. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. We got CPI. So thank you, everybody, for hanging out with me today. Was not an easy day, but you did have a 10-minute uptrend right. Where is that chart? So you did have a 10-minute uptrend right here. Okay, and then you had a nice 10-minute downtrend right there if you traded it. Probably afraid to trade the downtrend because of the uptrend looking so bullish, not knowing where the downtrend would actually take you. Because if it only takes you back to VWAP, it's really not that interesting. But only to find out it goes well below VWAP and actually even below where we started out this morning. So it's kind of that's what makes it a tough day. So we're looking for this is kind of the line in the sand, this 675.50. So underneath this, probably going to be a bear. Above it, probably going to be a bull. All right, thank you, traders. I'll see you all tomorrow at 8 o'clock.